Hello guys and welcome back to our another screencast-o-matic. Today in Unit 4 we're going to be talking about marine resources. And yes, if you looked at the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to tell that we're going to talk about metals, energy, and of course fish. Let's start out with, I'll know I've got it when I can differentiate between renewable and non-renewable resources. I'll know I've got it when I can explain examples of both renewable and non-renewable resources, especially pertaining to marine resources. Remember that we're looking for things with highlighted, bolded, underlined, or maybe a yellow box. That might give it away. So let's look at non-renewable resources. Things that can't be replenished, they can't be used again once they're used. The example here is fossil fuels. So if you think of fossil fuels, most of you drive here or you're driven to school. And what does your car run on? Gasoline, diesel, all types of fossil fuels. Other types are coal, natural gas, and whenever we talk about non-renewable, we're also going to throw in nuclear energy. And this is the result of uranium mining. Renewable resources are a whole lot easier though. These are the ones that are renewable. Like solar energy, wind energy. We use water as energy with turbines, and that's called hydropower. When we relate those to marine though, we're going to talk about fish stocks. We're going to talk about the amounts of fish that we can use as a renewable resource. And we're going to talk about ways that people overuse some of our resources. So let's look at some of these non-renewable resources first. Petroleum, oil, gasoline, natural gas. Okay? A third of the world's oil comes from the ocean, comes from offshore drilling. Over millions of years, as these plankton die, their bodies undergo this conversion into petroleum or into oil. And remember we said that all life on Earth is carbon-based. Fossil fuels are just what they sound like. They're fossils. They're part of animals, part of species, which are all carbon-based. Have you ever heard of carbon footprint or putting CO2 emissions? This is when carbon and oxygen meet, and you see a lot of CO2, a lot of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and that all comes from burning these fossil fuels. And these were all ways that humans impact the environment. So keep that in mind as we get into our next part of this chapter. We're just going to talk about a little bit about human impact. Going a little deeper, we look at oil spills and how they pollute our environment. It wasn't too long ago when we heard about the oil spill in the Gulf. Not only did it spill on top of the water, but think of all the marine life that was affected because of it. Think even further when not only marine life is affected, but then local life, human lives are affected. Many people rely on either the fish as their meals and as their food source or as a source of income. And when we have issues of pollution, these damper our normal everyday living. When we look at salt and minerals, there's a lot of uses of salt in our daily routines. Food, medicine, even up north, not so much in Florida, ice is melted by the use of salts. We see some of the uses here for salt. Magnesium, lightweight metals that are actually used in aircrafts, and how to extract this salt and where it comes from. All very important. Renewable marine resources. First ones we're going to talk about here, waves. Who's ever been to the beach before and seen the waves crashing on the shore? We can use that energy, harness that energy, and use it. We see these chambers here that are filled with air that create this wave energy. It's an ongoing form of energy, which means it's renewable, which means that after once it's used, it doesn't go away forever. You don't only see one wave in the ocean, you see a continuous flow of waves. They're in a pattern, and they keep going. Marine mammals are also a type of resource. We see a terrible thing here, killing of whales for their blubber, for their fat, and that was used in making oil hundreds and thousands of years ago. Then we get into fishing. Should be somewhat familiar to a lot of us here. Where we take fishing from it being a renewable resource into it could be a non-renewable resource is through overfishing. We need to keep a certain amount of fish in the waters at all times so that they can reproduce, find mates, grow. Think about when you have a fishing license or you need a hunting license. These are all environmental parameters that our government has set forth so that we can maintain these stocks of fish, so we can maintain a resource such as fish, such as these mammals, as a renewable resource, as something that over time we will be able to renew and reuse all the time. Aquaculture is also a really important factor, and that's kind of with your overfishing here. Okay, this is actually farming of these kind of fish, of the high quantity and the high demand for fish. We have oysters. In a lot of areas you'll see crabs, lobster. Okay? And growing of the fish here is a commercial use, where they're going to harvest all these fish, all these marine animals, and then sell them on. Algae is also another renewable resource. It can be used for agar, which we may be using soon. That is a form of gelatin. It's used in pigments, used in fertilizer, used in biofuel. A lot of cool things happening with algae right now in biofuel, if you want to look those up later. Biodiversity should not be a new word for you. Okay, is the ability of life to diversify. And we talked about that a little bit in the last section, where mutations, genetic variability, Genetic variations allow for change of life from one generation to the next. Sustainability is a very common word you're going to see a lot when we talk about renewable and non-renewable resources. Okay, sustainable development here is using natural resources in a way that does not cause long-term environmental harm. Okay? It's the ability to use these resources, but not in a way that is going to harm any part of the environment or any part of its ecological pyramid, its food chain, its food web in the future. After you finish your notes, I want you to go ahead and get an index card from myself. Raise your hand, get an index card, and you're going to write 3 things for an exit ticket today. Today I learned blank. My strengths are, and my weaknesses. What do you think you have in the bag? 100%. What do you know for a fact? Hey, I got this. This is me. Be honest. No one else is going to see these. Tell me where you're struggling at. Tell me where you need help. If it's something where I can connect the dots for you, I want to do that. And then give me something you learned today, something new. Be original. Make sure you write your names on these and you turn them in before you leave today.